Hey everyone, it's Tracy. And in the offshore banking environment, right, being in some degree of flux, and you see a lot of banks going away, then you see a lot of people going to crazy places like Anjuan for banking licenses and things like that. And then you see correspondent banking becoming more difficult. The question is, like, if I have a high risk business, what is the option for me? And one overlooked option that I'm recommending to clients more and more is the Bahamas restricted bank and trust license. And in its purest sense, that license is like a captive bank, right? And the limitation is you can only offer banking services to those entities or individuals that you list or tell the central bank of the Bahamas that you're going to bank with. So it's ideal, and like traditionally it's been used for in the context of like family offices and things like that, but there's no limitation of how it can be used. And for higher risk, especially like crypto businesses, especially like in the DeFi um, space, it could be a very valuable tool because it allows you to effectively create your own bank that services solely like the high risk crypto business, right? Like whether it's a DeFi platform, exchange, whatever it may be. And again, like the prohibitions are such that you can't solicit outside persons, right? You have to like basically say it's going to be this company, that company, that company. So if you have this kind of control group of entities that are engaged in whatever, and I'm mostly speaking to the crypto side of things, it's really ideal. And you can seasonably like update that list in terms of, who is banking at the bank, provided you aren't going out and like soliciting customers to that bank. And there's no limitation in terms of how many clients that bank can serve or, the total assets under management, right? And what I found is that the process to obtain it is relatively painless, right? Like the Bahamas is, by all accounts, probably your strongest offshore banking center. And it's a very like light regulatory burden to get it because again, you're saying I'm only going to do business basically with myself, right? So like the risk of loss to like the general public, which is what it relates to in terms of getting like a traditional banking license, is sort of gone, right? And you have a minimal capital requirement of 100,000 Bahamian dollars, so roughly 100,000 US, and you have an option even, which is really nice, between having a physical presence, right, which is very light compared to like even a payments license there or other places. And then you have what's called the managed option, where in lieu of having like a physical presence in the Bahamas, you elect another trust company to sort of serve as your agent. And with that comes some increased regulatory and reporting requirements, although the cost of doing so outweighs the cost of like maintaining that physical presence for the most part. It's pretty close, but for the most part it is. So it's really interesting because, you haven't any restrictions on the verticals that you attack, right? So while yes, the central bank, who is the licensor and the party that's reviewing your applications, will care that you're in crypto, and they will, being in crypto will trigger enhanced KYC, AML type requirements. But how hard is that to comply with when you or this control group or people or entities that you're specifically dealing with are known to you, right? There isn't like there's a greater legal burden, but meeting that burden is sort of axiomatic. So, and then from a timing perspective, there's been cases that I've been involved with where the license has been obtained in like 3 months, which is really unique for an offshore environment. So if you think about it, and like if you think that, obviously you need proof of concept like on that high risk vertical, right? No matter what it is, before you can sort of justify, even though it's a relatively inexpensive proposition, right? I mean, you're talking a $5,000 application fee even. It's something to kind of explore because at the end of the day, like if you have proof of concept on, let's say it's a DeFi lending platform or what have you. Well, you can easily justify creating your own bank that services just you and maybe related businesses that, plug into what you have going on. And you don't have that, one, the uncertainty of like dealing with, a bank that could say one day, well, we just don't want crypto business anymore, right? Two, you sort of set the rules in terms of the banking relationship. Three, instead of, having to worry about the safekeeping, safeguarding your funds or the licensing of that entity, you're in control of it, right? So all the risks that are appertinent around offshore banking, especially when you're operating something in a high risk vertical, sort of go away, right? Because you're one and the same. You're your own client and vice versa. So that is the Bermuda Restricted Bank and Trust license, which I think for, anything high risk, if you really need that banking element and you want it on your terms and you want it tailored and you don't want to deal with the headache, it's ideal, right? For what is, relatively speaking, a very small investment of time and money. So if you have questions regarding that license in the Bahamas, definitely hit me up, Adam at adamtracy.io. Talk to you next time. Cheers.